Hey, what's going on, traders? It's Johnny here at TraderX. Thank you guys so much for tuning back into the channel. And today I wanted to go ahead and give you guys a Friday recap and let you know how my day trading went today. So it is a bit sooner that I am posting this video, mainly because of the fact that I was able to be done with my trading this early on. So I am very grateful for that. But to make sure everyone is aware, this is a simulation account, right? You guys can see up here on the top left. And what that means is I'm using fake money to trade, mainly because of the fact that I was very red on the week, right? This week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I wasn't doing the best with my real account. So I decided to take a step back and log into my simulation trading account for Thursday and Friday and just to get some practice, right? And what a simulation trading account does is it allows you to trade the stock market just the way you normally would, right? But with fake money. So it's definitely something I would highly recommend if you want to get that practice in and the screen time in without having to risk any real money. So yeah, you guys should definitely check that out. And the brokerage I'm using is TD Ameritrade, and this is called ThinkorSwim, right? This platform right here. So you guys have to check with your broker to see if they even offer simulation trading. But yeah, highly recommend that. So let me get right into the recap. Today I was up $153 on the day, and as you guys can see, it consisted of trading the Nasdaq ETF. So I actually got burned on SQs this morning and lost $109, and then I was actually able to make a decent amount back on TQs, right? $262 on that. These are all my filled orders, you guys can see. The timestamps on the left, and then the price points I bought in and sold out at, and then the ETF I was trading right here in the middle. But pretty much what I saw value in was I have typically been waking up a bit later to trade, mainly because of the fact that right at market open, we can typically see like a strong spike that'll push the Nasdaq down or up, and it mainly has to do with momentum, with the fact that all these new traders are entering the market right at market open. So I typically like to wait about 10 to 15 minutes now before I start trading, just so that the market can get a chance to cool down a bit and really start to form its direction. And so ultimately, as I hopped onto the market later, I saw it was selling off. And so what I decided to do was actually continue to try to play this sell off. So as this thing would pick up and pull back, I ended up logging onto my computer right around this area, I believe. So as this thing picked up and peaked out and got a little more overextended, I decided to get into SQQQ. I bought and initially averaged up and sold, right? Somewhere near the bottom here. And the reason why I did that was this thing was actively getting rejected by the EMA. And as long as this pattern continues, I am going to keep getting into the inverse ETF, right? It makes sense to because it's the inverse ETF is appreciating and growing in value as the Nasdaq is going down, right? So as this thing continues to peak out and get rejected, I was getting into the inverse ETF and making money. And ultimately what happened was this thing peaked right back up over here. I got into the inverse ETF again, averaged up, and then this thing went south. So I had to cut that thing. It put me red on the day. It was a big loss actually on this play here because I didn't do the best job of cutting my losses right away. And then ultimately, as this thing continued to fall, I tried one more SQ play here. So I got into the inverse ETF, averaged up, and it went south again. So that put me down a decent amount on the day. I was probably down close to $100 at that point. But what this told me here was that the market was now struggling to continue to sell off, right? It made a higher high, higher low, and then ultimately continue to bounce off the EMA rather than get rejected by it. So what did I do in that case? Well, I decided to start getting into TQQQ, right? So as this thing peaked up and it broke its previous resistance, I got into TQQ and averaged up, and we did see a pullback, and I was actually getting ready to cut my losses because of the fact that it pulled back so aggressively. But I knew there was a chance, given the fact that it wrote the EMA up here rather than get rejected, that we were going to see the same thing happen here before it ultimately surged. And that's exactly what ended up happening, right? This thing found a support, bounced, and then ended up shooting ridiculously. So I was able to cut lots of my position size right around as it approached the middle VWAP. And so that's ultimately how I was able to make all my money back and some profit on the day. But why did I think that the Nasdaq was going to push up so much like it did, right? Well, the reason why was when you go to the inverse ETF and take a look at it at the bigger time frames, right? You can see that this thing was trading all the way up here, right? Very, very overextended. And like I mentioned in yesterday's video, the Nasdaq, as it approaches these levels, it tends to struggle, right? It gets rejected very aggressively. It did it right around here, did it right around these areas. So seeing this thing all the way up here, it's very overbought, and it was due for a pullback before it continues to actually, continue to push up on the day, the inverse ETF. So then, meaning the Nasdaq would sell off, or the Nasdaq could make a reversal, causing this thing to sell off back to its low points right around $43, $44. So I found that to be attractive and a risk worth taking, and I knew that there was a potential this thing could sell off right around to the EMA line and continue to push up like it did, given the fact that it's been riding the EMA line up, right? But given how peaked out it is, where I think it'll go is it's either going to do one of two things. It's going to continue to push up on the day, the inverse ETF, meaning that the Nasdaq is going to continue to sell off, or this thing is going to actually pull back to where I thought it could, back to these lower areas, maybe around 46 to 47 or 42 to 43 range, right? So we're just going to have to see how that plays out. But that's pretty much how the Nasdaq's doing as of now. So after the horrible day it had yesterday, and actually a rough morning, this thing has the potential to start to recover. Doesn't mean it has to, right, guys? Does not mean it has to, but it definitely has the potential. And so that's something you guys definitely want to keep an eye out for. But that's ultimately everything I wanted to talk about this morning. I hope all of you were able to end green on the day. If you guys have any questions at all on any stock or anything, want me to break anything down, just go ahead and drop a comment and I will go ahead and answer that as soon as I can. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. I hope you guys all have an amazing weekend, and my brother will be here on Monday with his recap. So he will see you guys then. Until then, take care, guys.